fire flickered, and screams echoed outside the palace. Riots had erupted all across the capital city. With tears staining her face, the queen lifted the sapphire crown from her dead sister's head. Why? Why hadn't her sister just listened? The crown was so heavy in the queen's hands, as if to remind her of the weight of the price she had paid for it. But still, she knew it had been the right choice. Gingerly, the queen put the crown upon her brow. She steeled herself for the rush of power she knew was coming, the full force of all 7 imperial regalia, the magic that had driven lesser rulers mad, the power to unite and rule an empire at last. But nothing happened. No flashes of possibility, no waves of insight, not even corrupting thoughts of more power assaulted her mind. It just sat there, as if to mock her, while all around her kingdom burned. Hey everyone, Silas Silver here. If you had the opportunity to take power and save the world, would you do it? How far do you think someone should go if they think they have that option? This is a story from Galatia about a family who had such a chance. It begins many years before the queen got her crown, though, far from the capital city, in a little kingdom called Talbot. Once upon a time, in the 4th age of Galatia, an era ruled by the golden sun god in an epoch of ambition, empires, and betrayal, there was a young woman in peasant's garb making her way to the castle. It was very late. Her hands were dirty and her basket was empty, but her smile was as bright as the high moon in the sky shining off her curly blonde hair. As she made her way, a man's husky voice growled from the shadows. "Your purse or your life, miss!" A young ruffian man appeared, brandishing a club. The woman regarded her would-be assailant. He was thin, gaunt even. She decided he must be very new at this, or very desperate to attack her so close to the castle walls. "I haven't got any money with me," she said truthfully, "but I know where we can find some. Follow me. I know a secret way into the castle." And with that, she continued on her way. The young man was a bit dumbfounded. Wasn't she scared of him at all? She was already disappearing into the darkness. What else could he do? He had to see where this went. He collected himself and ran after her. The castle was well guarded, but the woman clearly knew her way. Together, they evaded the patrols and made their way to the far side of the keep. There, to the young man's surprise, she opened a narrow passage in a seemingly solid stone wall. Once again, she disappeared into the darkness. The young man almost lost his nerve and stayed behind then, but at the last moment followed out of pure fear of missing out. The passage closed behind him. In darkness, the two climbed cramped stairs. The woman seemed to be moving purely by feel. The young man just followed as best he could. Then all at once the world spun. The walls and floor moved. The young man stumbled to the floor onto fine, thick carpet. Candle moon and cheerful firelight accosted the man's dark-adjusted eyes. They were in a study. Books lined the wall. Seated nearby at a desk was an older man, muscular, bearded, and finely dressed. At his side was a masterfully crafted sword with a blood-red sheen. Only one man in the world carried a sword like that. This could be none other than King Jotham Kazarak, the ruler of Talbot and the master of this castle. The king glared at the young man, then smiled at the woman. "Welcome home, love," he said warmly. "I see you've brought home another stray." She gave him a chuckle and a loving kiss. "And I see you have been staying up late with the books again." The king sighed. Looking out the window over his kingdom, he seemed to forget the young man in the room. "Yes, I couldn't sleep. Again. I was so sure there would be a new emperor by now, love. Or at least some promising candidate raising their banner high, restoring order and hope. It's been 5 years of war. 10, if you count the last emperor's reign of madness. But there's nobody, and no end in sight to the carnage. Nobody cares about the Imperial Way anymore. I'm sure of it now. I can't just hold our territory and wait any longer. It has to be me, my love. I must collect the regalia, and forge the empire myself if I would see it done." The woman, the queen, hushed her husband. "I know, and you're afraid you're not good enough. So you spend all night long fretting and studying and imagining the worst. But books are patient things. They will be here in the morning. Everything will be easier once you are rested. It is time for all good kings and emperors to go to bed. I'll be there shortly, after I get dinner for my new friend." "Very well," the king said. He picked up the war sword, the magical blade wielded by the first emperor nearly 400 years ago, one of the 7 pieces of the imperial regalia. Casually, he brandished it at the young man, still kneeling on the ground as if he was hoping nobody would notice him there. "Behave yourself," the king barked at him, and left without another word. "Well, come on," said the queen. "The kitchens are this way. Let's get you some food. What is your name, by the way?" "Thenley," the young man answered, standing. "Well, Thenley," the queen said, "your days of banditry are over. You can spend the rest of your days in our dungeon, or you can work for me. Does that sound fair?" Yes, ma'am," said Thenley, bowing as best he could. I serve your majesty." 6 years later, King Kazarak was out on a military campaign. His beard and hair had become salt and pepper colored, but his eyes were as determined as ever. He sat in a tent listening to the latest scouting report. However, his attention was divided. Upon his head sat a new delicate crown covered in sapphires, the spoils of war. It was the crown of foresight, another of the imperial regalia of the first emperor. As the king listened, Thenley came into the tent with important news. The king's 3rd child had been born, a healthy and beautiful baby girl. It was his 3rd daughter. King Kazarak was overjoyed to hear it. He grabbed Thenley in a full bear hug. "Congratulations, Your Grace," said Thenley once he could breathe again. "But if I may ask, shouldn't you have known this already? I thought the Crown of Foresight lets you see the future." "I could see that you would come with the news of my family today," answered the king. "But I couldn't tell what the news would be. I've been nervous about it all day, to be honest." The king didn't explain further. He was still coming to understand himself that the Crown of Foresight doesn't actually let anyone see the future, though it sometimes appears to do so. Instead, it allows the wearer to make very good educated guesses based on what they already know. Like seeing the trajectory of a thrown stone before it lands, the wearer can see the trajectories of people and nations. But they can still misjudge, and much can still be hidden from them. Thenley, understanding none of this, simply nodded, as if it all made sense to him. "I see," he said. "In that case, I have further news. Regent Califor wishes to discuss terms. It seems he is becoming desperate. Shall I inform his messengers that he has had his chance, and we do not make deals with Oathbreakers?" King Kazarak was thoughtful for a moment. "No," he said. "I was expecting this news, and if it had come an hour ago, I would have said yes. Damn Califor, he doesn't deserve mercy. But word of my new daughter has given me pause. I want her to grow up in a world where there are such things as second chances. The Imperial way says true mercy can only be given when it is not deserved. I will hear Califor's proposed terms. It is a risk to allow him to live, but one we can afford, I think. Who knows? Perhaps one day he will make me glad I did." 3 years later, Queen Mira Kazarak was preparing for a long journey. In her right hand she tightly gripped the white scepter of peace, another piece of regalia, as if it were a railing beside a very steep cliff. She was excited for the trip, but also nervous. It was not her first diplomatic mission, nor would it be her last, but she knew the danger of leaving home was real. At last, everything was in order. Her servants, guards, and carriage awaited her. She went to bid her husband and 3 beautiful daughters goodbye. Gentle Viora, the youngest, clung to her mother as if she could keep her from leaving by sheer strength. Clever Eliza, the second child, tried to be brave. She knew her mother would be back in a few weeks, but still she couldn't help a few tears. Brave Zara, the oldest, stood by silently waiting as her sisters were comforted and pacified. Finally she spoke. "I don't understand why you have to go, Mother." "My beautiful little ladybug, I know you do understand, the queen answered patiently. The kingdom needs friends. I'm going to be a diplomat, to make new friends, and to keep our old friendships strong. I know that, said Zara, but why do you have to do it? We have lots of servants. They could go instead. You're the queen. You could make them go instead. The queen knelt down and hugged Zara. You're such a smart one. You're right. Someone else could go instead. That's how most kingdoms do it. But most kingdoms don't have a dream like we have. We're trying to bring back the Golden Empire, so we can stop the wars and make the whole world happy again. It's such a big dream. Our only chance is if everyone helps, especially the king and queen. The imperial way teaches we have to set a good example and never make other people do things we wouldn't do ourselves. Diplomacy is something I'm very good at. When other kingdoms see that the Queen of Talbot herself is willing to come to them, they know we are serious. And when our own people see that I am not afraid to face some danger and do the hard work too, it makes them want to help as well. Everyone has to help, and this is the best way I can help. Zara seemed to understand, but it did not seem to help her feel much better. The queen had an idea. She drew a small knife and used it to cut a lock of her curly blonde hair. She handed it to Zara. Here, take this and keep it safe for me. Will you do that? That way, no matter how far away I am, you will always have a piece of me with you. Does that sound good? Zara nodded. She clutched the lock of hair gingerly, reverently. She sniffed but kept the tears back. I want to help too, Mother, she said. With the Golden Empire. What should I do? Me too, said Viora and then Liza. The scepter flashed white, indicating that the girl spoke true. Mira smiled at her daughters. She was so proud of them. Right now, she said, you can help best by paying close attention to all your father's lessons, and by being very good while I'm gone. And don't you dare gang up on Father like last time. I know he spoils you while I'm gone. Just because you three can make him say yes to anything doesn't mean you should. You have to go easy on him. It's not fair, 3 against 1. The tension in the room eased. The 3 girls tried to act contrite but couldn't help smiling. Last time, they had each procured new dogs for themselves. Yes, Mother, said Liza. We promise to only get spoiled a little bit. Good, said the Queen, chuckling. She kissed each of her daughters, then her husband, and bid them farewell. The Queen did indeed return from that trip safely, and went on many others besides, but their good fortune was not to last. 4 years later, King Kazarak was at his home castle in Talbot. He was haggard, grieving, and angry. He had just received news that his wife was dead, and was on his way to break the news to his daughters, 12-year-old Zara, 10-year-old Liza, and 7-year-old Viora. He took a steadying breath and knocked on their chamber door. Zara took one look at her father's face and shuddered in a tearless sob. Liza and Viora reacted similarly. They knew. His eyes betrayed what he could barely bring himself to say. Our worst fears have come true, he whispered. Your mother will not be coming back to us this time. I'm so sorry. The 3 just sat for a time, breathing quietly, raggedly. Zara squeezed the lock of their mother's hair. It had been preserved in crystal and hung from her neck on a silver chain. They had known for days this news was likely, but now that hope was truly gone, it was like hearing it for the first time on that terrible day. How could this happen? Zara gasped between shudders. Didn't you send them the money they demanded? I did, the king answered. They took it and killed her anyway. Why? Asked Liza. He sat down beside them, hugging them close. Liza and Viora accepted the affection. Zara pulled away. The Black Spire bandits are not like other highway robbers, the king explained to his daughters. They have a place, a magical, terrible hole in the ground they call the Wishing Well. If you throw in something of value, you can make a wish. The more valuable the offering, the more powerful the wish. The wishing well gives very good wishes if you throw in people, especially people who are loved, and people with pure hearts. Your mother was loved by whole kingdoms, and has the purest heart of any I've known. That must be why they went to such lengths to kidnap her." "Why didn't you see this coming?" Liza burst out. "With your crown, why couldn't you protect her?" Zara's face was dark. "It's not Father's fault. It's the Black Spire bandits' fault. We need to punish them. We need to kill them all. Can we do that, Father? Do we have enough soldiers?" The king paused again. "We have the means," he said at length. "I have made a decision. It is time you met the Earthbreakers, and they met you. I have kept them at a distance from you, because you are children. But I see no point in shielding you from the hard things now. I'm so sorry, my girls, but your childhood is finished. Come with me, and I will show you what will be done about the Black Spire bandits." The king led his daughters out of the keep and into a nearby barracks. It was a massive building, nearly half the size of the keep itself. Liza and Viora held their father's hand tightly. Zara followed silently behind. Inside, soldiers mingled with massive rough-cut stone statues. The stone statues were alive, moving about with incredible strength. They were the Earthbreakers, magical golem soldiers. As the king and his daughters entered, the soldiers and Earthbreakers alike stood at attention. "We've seen the Earthbreakers before, Father," said Zara. "Of course," he answered, "but you have not seen how they are made. Each Earthbreaker was once a plainkin soldier, just like you or I. This is Cadet Vaskin. She has volunteered to become our newest Earthbreaker. Cadet, do you mind if my daughters and I watch your transformation?" "It would be an honor, my liege," the soldier replied. She turned to the girls. "I heard about the Queen. I'm so sorry. I promise we will make them pay." While preparations were made, the king explained, "At the heart of each Earthbreaker is a soul stone. Cadet Vaskin will now bond her soul to the stone. Her soul will then be stretched between two places, her body and the Earthbreaker. It is incredibly painful for a soul to be bound to two bodies. Cadet Vaskin is strong and can endure the pain for a time, but sooner or later one of the bodies will have to die for either to work properly." In a somber magical ritual overseen by the Archmason, Cadet Vaskin bound her soul to an unmoving Earthbreaker body prepared for her. A burst of blue light lit the room briefly. The pain of it was immediately visible on her face, but she bore it well. Slowly, the Earthbreaker sat up. In a mirrored gesture, Cadet Vaskin and the Earthbreaker held their hands in front of their faces, as if looking upon those hands was confusing and strange. The Earthbreaker then stood up and performed some basic training exercises. The ground thundered as she jumped and moved with agility and speed. Satisfied that her new body was in order, the cadet's old body took a deep breath. She then drank a vial of poison provided to her. In minutes, her plainkin body slumped to the ground. Earthbreaker Vaskin gingerly picked up her former body and carried it out in a solemn procession with a few others to bury it. The transformation was complete. "She will spend the rest of her life as an Earthbreaker," the king explained further. "Not even the Archmason has the skill to change her back. This is a very great sacrifice for anyone to make. Earthbreakers have no mouths and so cannot eat or speak. They use signs to communicate, but most people cannot understand their language. Cadet Vaskin will live much longer now, perhaps forever, but she will never again know the tender touch of a lover, or the warmth of the summer sun on her skin, or 1,000 other things we take for granted. It is a long and lonely life, unbroken by even the solace of sleep. And yet, Cadet Vaskin made this choice freely. Do you know why she and other soldiers like her are willing to do such a thing?" The girls were silent. "Because they believe, as I do, as your mother did, that bringing back the Golden Empire is more important than any of us. The good it will bring is worth any sacrifice. One single Earthbreaker has enough strength to turn the tide of a battle. With Cadet Vaskin, we now have 12. These soldiers follow me and trust me and sacrifice so much because I show them every day I am willing to sacrifice everything as well. Now that they have seen you and felt what you have lost, they will fight all the harder. We can't bring your mom back, but we can make her sacrifice mean something. And because of brave soldiers like Cadet Vaskin, we can punish the people responsible. We can make sure they never have the chance to do this again to anyone else. For every drop of your mother's blood, we will slaughter 10 of them, and the few who escape will remember this day for generations. I swear I will see it done, my daughters. Mark my words. And so it was. The Earthbreakers marched on the Blackspire Mountains and massacred all they found there. In the caverns below they found the accursed wishing well, like a fiery mouth deep underground. They could not destroy it, so they clogged it full of the bodies of the dead. On King Kazarak's orders no wishes were made, for he knew the wishes always came at a terrible cost, and the dead bandits were no sacrifice to him. In time, new bandits would find the place, and pick up where the old had left off, but at least for a time the world enjoyed a respite from the Blackspire bandits. 11 years later, the king, now with only a few wisps of black in his white hair, lay dying. His body was covered in old battle wound scars, and he was missing his right foot, but none of these long-healed injuries were the cause of his imminent early death. After all his battles, and so many enemies trying and failing to kill him, he had simply fallen sick. The healers called it a disease of the bones, but could do nothing more than ease his suffering. His adult daughters stood around his bed to comfort him and hear his final will. Each of them had grown into a mighty woman, worthy of the Kazarak name and crown. In the corner stood Thenley, now the head steward, dutifully recording his king's final will. Beside him, carefully arranged on a table, were the crown of foresight, the scepter of peace, and the oldest of the collection, the blood-red war sword.
My greatest fear,
the king told his daughters,
is that you 3 will fight each other for power after I am gone. I've taught you all I know of statecraft, and any of you would be an admirable queen given the chance, I am certain. But if all of you try to take power, you will tear apart the kingdom, and with it our dream of the Golden Empire.
The daughters tried to protest, but he held up his hand to silence them.
I know it seems impossible now. You get along so well, and I'm so proud of you for it. But when the responsibilities of the kingdom rest on your shoulders, you will find it is not so easy to resist the allure of power, even for each other. So as my dying request, I ask each of you to hold the scepter of peace and swear by your mother's soul that you will stand with each other as true allies and to put the kingdom and the empire first as long as you each shall live.
Zara swore first. The scepter flashed white in her hands, proving to all she spoke with true intent. Liza and Viora swore likewise, and the scepter flashed for each of them.
Thank you,
the king said, seeming visibly relaxed.
My soul can rest more easily now that I know you will stand together. When your mother died, I was a worse ruler for it. Looking back, I now realize I used the sword at times when the scepter would have served me better. Together, I know you 3 will make better decisions than I did, and better than any of you can alone. Viora, my youngest, you truly take after your mother. I see her every time I look at you. You have her pure heart, and compassion, and her strength and bravery as well. I know you will serve the kingdom well after I am gone. To you, I give the scepter of peace. May you use it to spread compassion across all the land, as your mother did, and as I could not.
Thank you, father, said Viora, taking the scepter. A tear rolled down her cheek.
Liza, you have been my best student, a devious politician and a most cunning debater. I think there may be nothing you can't accomplish if you put your formidable mind to the task. I know you will serve the kingdom well after I am gone. To you I give the crown of foresight. May you use it to guide the kingdom with more wisdom than I.
Liza bowed deeply, whispered her thanks, and took the crown.
Zara, my eldest, my firebrand, you take after me. You have become a true leader, a mighty warrior, and a skilled tactician. You took to heart my teachings on how to inspire loyalty, and I see that people follow you as fervently as they followed me. To you I give the war sword, and I name you my successor, Queen of Talbot, after I am gone. May you use the sword to defend the innocent here and abroad. Yours will be the final word in all decisions, but I entreat you to listen to your sisters. Their counsel will be your most valuable asset. United, you will prosper, and divided, you will fall. Mark my words."
Zara knelt and thanked her father graciously, and then took the sword. When Thenley finished the account, the king signed and sealed it. Business concluded, the five of them talked and reminisced of happier days. Only a few weeks later, the king died peacefully in his sleep, and finally rejoined his beloved queen. 2 years later, Queen Zara and Princesses Liza and Viora were in a war camp, on a military campaign. Before them, a fat man in exquisite gold-embroidered clothes knelt in the mud. Earthbreaker stood by, holding him on either side, making sure he could not escape. Liza signed to the Earthbreakers in their own language instructions to step back. The man wasn't going anywhere. It was Regent Califor, their father's old acquaintance. Despite his position, he showed no fear. On his finger rested the golden signet ring, another of the imperial regalia.
"You don't scare me," Califor spat at the Kazarak women. "I know you want my ring, but you won't get it like this. The imperial regalia must choose their new owners when they change hands, especially the signet ring. You must impress it with negotiations or it won't work at all. If you take it from me by force, it will be worthless to you, I guarantee it. You must make a deal with me, to my satisfaction, or it will never be yours, no matter what you do to me. And every minute you make me kneel in this mud, my price doubles."
The ring amplified his words. Though they were no louder than might be expected, they struck with force. It was incredibly hard to resist the thought that he was right, and they had to appease him. Viora stepped forward first, scepter in hand. "We know how the regalia work. That is why you are still alive. You are a vile man. My father once gave you mercy, and you betrayed us again. My sisters would see you dead, but I am different. I don't want to hurt you. I believe even scum such as yourself are not beyond the hope of redemption if you desire it. But you only get one more chance with me." The scepter flashed, indicating the truth of her words. "Here is the deal I offer. Give us the ring, and swear by the scepter that you will spend your life restoring what you have destroyed. Do this, and we will let you go. We will not come after you again, unless we hear word of new atrocities by your hand. I urge you to accept this offer. You will not get a better one." The scepter glowed gently. A feeling of tranquility washed over the group. Forgiveness was within reach. For a moment, it seemed like he might take the deal, but then he broke free of the scepter's effect.
"Ha!" Califor laughed. "Your tricks and threats are meaningless. If you want my most valuable possession, you will have to pay dearly for it. I require land, and gold, and some of these Earthbreakers for a start. Nothing less will do."
Though shaken internally from the power of his words, Viora kept her composure. She nodded sadly and stepped back. Liza then stepped forward. "You should have taken Viora's deal. You could have kept your throne. I don't really care if you live or die, but we must have the ring, and there are several points of strategic value in your lands we want as well. So hear my offer. You will give us the ring, and 9/10 of your lands and wealth. You will never be a powerful ruler again, but you will be able to live out your days in comfort. In exchange, we will let you go, and not come after you again unless you offend us somehow."
"I grow tired of repeating myself," Califor growled, his words echoing in the minds of the three women. "You cannot threaten me. We both know this. Piss off with your deal."
With effort, Liza shook off the power of the words and stepped back. Zara then stepped forward, holding the sword. "You should have taken Liza's deal," she said. "You remind me of the men who killed my mother. I hate you more deeply than you understand. Here is my deal. Your lands and life are forfeit. We are taking all you have without restraint. I will now torture you to death, here, with my own sword, cutting off your body parts one after the other. You will trade me the ring in exchange for a quicker death and an end to the suffering." He began to speak, derision dripping from his words, but they turned into cries of pain as she began slashing his face. Her cuts were surgically precise and lightning fast, starting with shallow but painful lacerations. Wait, stop! Califer cried through the pain. His words still carried that magical weight, and despite herself, Zara paused. Choose your next words carefully, she commanded. If I do not like them, I will cut out your tongue next, and they will be your last. The scepter in Viora's hand flashed. Please, he begged. I yield. Take the ring. I'll take the first one's deal. Just let me go. I swear on my honor, I'll do anything to restore the damage I've done. The scepter did not flash. Far too late, Zara bellowed. Now her words seemed to carry magical weight, as if the ring was already hers. You rejected my sisters. You're dealing with me now. You have nothing left to save you but my mercy. I offer you one final deal, and I swear this is the last. Give me the ring, unconditionally, and I will do with you as I see fit. I promise you nothing. Trembling, bleeding, and broken, he pulled the golden signet ring from his finger and handed it to Zara. She took it and placed it on her finger. It shined with a golden light. It apparently approved of her skill in negotiation and command. Liza came forward and whispered in Zara's ear. Let him live. Throw him in a dungeon. He will be a useful bargaining chip to us. Zara put her hand to her breastplate for strength. The lock of their mother's hair rested there. The other two had seemingly forgotten it, but she never did. The words, worth any sacrifice, echoed in her ears from long ago. You're right, sister, Zara said. He would. Then, in a single stroke, she cut Regent Califor's head from his shoulders. Some things were more important than political advantage. 9 years later, very productive years, largely thanks to that ring, the three sisters sat in the throne room of the old imperial palace in the ancient kingdom of Normandyr. It was the very place where the first emperor had held court 422 years prior. The vast building was ostentatious but practically empty. All of value once within it had been sold to pay for the whims of the long line of fools who had ruled here. Only the carvings on the walls and the great black throne of power itself remained. Zara sat on that throne, a tall, uncomfortable, jagged thing. It was said to be the most potent of all the imperial regalia, though it had yet to do anything magical for her. In one hand she held the sword, in the other the scepter. On her shoulders was the royal purple everymantle, and of course on her finger was the golden signet ring. The imperial way promised that anyone who could wield all seven would have the power to unite all the world under one rule, and the sisters had 6. The years had not been easy ones. Zara's muscular frame was marred with several new battle scars, and her hair had more streaks of gray than her age seemed to account for. The years of command had taken their toll. She looked every inch an empress shouldering the weight of an empire. To her left and right, on more comfortable seats, sat Fiora and Liza respectively, each dressed in beautiful formal gowns. Fiora held no regalia, but did wear a wedding ring, and had a well-practiced air of authority about her. Liza still wore the crown of foresight, but was visibly unwell. Her skin was deathly pale, her eyes red, and her hands trembled. Still she sat straight and proud. Attending them as always was Thenley, now getting on in years but as loyal as ever. Before them stood a nearly naked woodkin woman, her only clothes a mass of vines, her face obscured by her strange attire. My lords, the woman spoke in broken Empyrean. Gizig brings you a gift. The stone. She held up a massive uncut emerald, the green crown jewel. You were a hard one to find, Gigizig, said Zara, and harder still to persuade. I'm so happy you have finally come to see reason. She paused and turned to Liza. Do we have to take this one in a special way, like the ring or the mantle? Liza shook her head. Nobody knows. The crown jewel is the most mysterious of the regalia, but my best research says it is more likely to work if we take it forcefully. Very well, said Zara, standing and brandishing the war sword. Gigizig cowered in fear. With a lightning-quick flash of steel, Zara slapped the stone from Gigizig's hands using the flat of the blade. It clattered to the floor where Thenley picked it up. Is the Lord satisfied? Gigizig asked. Will they do as promised now? Yes, Gigizig, Zara said. We swear from this day forward, the Wanderwood shall be left alone by our peoples. Your trees will be left standing and your peoples left in peace. Gigizig seemed satisfied. Do not break your word. The forest will know. She spoke no more, bowed and made a hasty exit. Thenley then knelt and presented the green-crowned jewel to Zara. I believe congratulations are in order, your graces, and your majesty, he said. Shall we open a bottle of the violet wine from Canterlin? The three sisters all raised their brows at that suggestion. I thought we no longer had any, Viora said. Didn't we explicitly trade our entire supply to the Dresden court? Smiling and winking, Thenley produced a bottle and 4 glasses from his bag. Well, all of your supply, yes, but I confess I stole a bottle, hoping to save it for this occasion. I've always known you three would succeed one day. Viora and Zara smiled in unison as he poured them each a glass and then one for himself. Liza did not smile. Her face seemed stuck in a grimace of late. She did accept the wine, though. She nearly dropped hers. Her hands were shaking so badly, but managed to hold it steady enough to drink with both hands. Her sisters looked at her with quiet concern. They wanted to help her, but she had refused all healers. They were forced to simply trust she knew what she was doing. A toast, said Thenley, to the sisters who have done the impossible. You've conquered, allied, or annexed half the lands from here to the Glasswater Sea. You've collected all 7 of the imperial regalia. The Golden Empire is practically a reality. Your father would have been so proud. Thank you, Thenley, Zara said. It has been a long road for all of us, and it means so much coming from you. I wish you were here to see this day. Thenley bowed. I serve your majesty, he said. A few nights later, Liza was in her bedchamber, failing to sleep. Her condition had clearly worsened, aggravated by lack of sleep. Even in her bed, though, she wore the crown. A knock at her door revealed Zara. Thenley stood behind her, holding a candle. I'm sorry for disturbing you, sister, but we have to talk, said Zara, coming to stand beside Liza's bed. I suppose we do, said Liza weakly, as Thenley came in and began lighting more candles. I've put this off as long as I could, said Zara, but the coronation is in the morning. There cannot be a Golden Empire without an emperor. I cannot be the emperor without the crown. We're out of time. I need you to give me the crown now. My answer is the same, sister, replied Liza. You are not ready. You cannot command the true power of the regalia yet. And if you try to wield all of them before you can, they will drive you mad. I'm sure of it. I've studied the histories thoroughly. Why do you think we had so many mad emperors? I can handle it, Liza. I've been handling it. Have you? Because from where I sit, it seems they have worn you terribly. You've become crueler. I think you've already begun to succumb. Succumb? Said Zara angrily, then calmed herself. I suppose we will have to disagree on that point. But what would you have me do? Postpone the coronation until the regalia awaken for you, and you wield them as the first emperor did. You know why we can't do that, said Zara, exasperated. The war in Eskrell, the death of the Chamberlain, it's like the political stars have aligned for us. There will never be another chance in our lifetimes as good as this to refound the Empire, and we can. Who knows how many years, decades it will take to do what you propose, if it can be done at all. And every day we delay is a gift to our enemies. They are all around us. You know this better than I. They know what we have. If we wait, the opportunity will pass, maybe forever. I've thought about this a lot, Liza, and I'm certain it has to be now. It doesn't have to take years, retorted Liza, her voice weak but her resolve strong. Remember Father's teachings. The problem is entitlement. You feel too entitled to their power. Zara scoffed. You're one to talk about entitlement. You are so ill you can barely sit up, and yet you insist on keeping that crown. Liza nodded. I admit it. I feel entitled too. Not even Viora is free of it. And of course we feel entitled. We are entitled. After all we've been through, all we've lost, all we've overcome, all we've sacrificed, all we've done. Nobody with the ambition to do what we've done, born and raised as we were, could succeed as we have without feeling the victory was at least a little deserved. I understand, Zara, how impossible it is to just let go of that entitlement. But you have done the impossible before, and it is the only way. Yes, I have done impossible things. Trust me to do another one now. I won't go mad. I will withstand their power, and in time I will awaken them properly. I must. I've made up my mind, and it is my decision to make. I am the eldest, I am the strongest, I am queen by father's dying command. I was born for this. I will not be denied now, not even by you. Please do not test me on this, sister. I am begging you and commanding you. Give me the crown. I'm sorry, my queen, but my answer is the same. The risk to you and to the Empire is too great. I will protect you, even from yourself if need be. I will not let you destroy yourself and all we've worked for this way. Zara's voice softened and turned into true pleading. She knelt beside Liza's bed. Please, sister, please. Look at me. I, the queen, am literally on my knees. Do not make me take it from you. You can't take it, Liza answered. I will not give you the crown, and it will not work for you if you take it from me. You would need to outsmart me somehow, and I promise you that will never happen. I'm smarter than you. Any plan you make, I will see it coming. Zara stood, eyes full of sadness. You see much, sister, but not everything. At that moment, Fenley, who was standing behind Liza, produced an envenomed needle and plunged it into her neck. Liza gasped. She tried to speak, but the paralysis spread to her face too quickly, and it came out as a garbled slur. Forgive me, princess, Fenley sputtered, hands shaking. I had to. I serve Her Majesty. I serve. He dropped the needle. Zara's tone was flat as she stood again. Goodbye, sister. I will miss you. It will appear you died peacefully in your sleep, probably from whatever this strange ailment is. I truly wish there were another way. I have to have them all, and there's no more time. As Liza's hearing faded, the last thing she heard was the scream of Viora, who had been listening at the doorway. 10 days later, Zara and Fenley were in the great throne room, going over the latest combat reports. They were alone, save for a single Earthbreaker. The rest of the Earthbreakers and the senior staff had sided with Viora and left to return to Talbot. Things were looking bleak. The coronation had been worse than disastrous. Word of Zara's murder had spread quickly. A dozen wars had erupted between the various monarchs and regents. The semblance of an empire they had managed to build was in pieces. Their available supplies and troops were quickly depleting, and perhaps worst of all, the regalia had all stopped working. The crown Zara took from Liza's body wasn't even the real crown of Foresight. Liza had apparently had a fake made. Now that she was dead, there was nobody alive who knew where the real one was. It seemed she had outsmarted them even in death. The only good news was that Viora had not yet declared war on Zara herself, though that could change any day. Zara threw down another report detailing estimated deserters. No matter, we don't need them. I built this cursed empire from the ground up, and I can do it again. What's the matter with you, Fenley? Fenley broke out of his state of reverie. Oh, sorry, Your Majesty. I'm wondering whether trying to build the empire is a good idea now. Are we really the right people to do it, considering everything that happened? It is the only good idea, Fenley. The only thing that matters. Everything you and I have done, including killing Liza, was for the Empire. If we stop now, all of it, even her death, will be for nothing. Besides, war is the part I'm good at. We will manage. Yes, your majesty, said Thenley. I serve. 5 years later, in the kingdom of Normandeer, Queen Zara Kazarak looked out over her lands. Her resolve was gone. She was alone, save for the Earthbreaker who had become her bodyguard and most constant companion, and the lock of her mother's hair. She squeezed it again. Even Thenley had left eventually, gone back to Talbot to beg forgiveness of Queen Viora. Despite Zara's best efforts, none of the regalia had given her a drop of magic since that fateful night. She had torn apart the castle and the kingdom looking for the real crown of Foresight. It was nowhere to be found. In a small way, that was a good thing. She could tell now that Liza was right. The regalia had been driving her mad. Now that their influence was lifted, she could see it clearly. That did nothing to quiet the guilt she felt over what she had done, but at least she was free of it now. Using her skills of statecraft, she had managed to hold the kingdom together, but only just. They had so many enemies, and were always on the brink of disaster from one thing or another. War, hunger, and banditry were rampant, not just in her kingdom but across the known world. Lately she had been hearing disconcerting things. The commoners called her Mad Queen Kazarak, to distinguish her from Viora, who they called Good Queen Kazarak. Nobody called her mad to her face, but she knew it would stick for a long time. Probably the rest of history. Just as well, she deserved it. She didn't like what she saw. So many empty dwellings, so many fields going fallow. Her father's kingdom had never been in such disarray. What had he done that she wasn't doing? In her heart she knew the answer. She had always been so sure of herself that she didn't really listen to others. He, on the other hand, had had people around him, people he could trust to tell him when he was doing the wrong thing. He listened to them, and with their help avoided many disasters. She had nobody like that, but maybe she could find some. She wasn't always right, she could see that now. Sometimes other people knew best. If only she had learned that lesson sooner. "What do you think?" she idly asked the Earthbreaker. He couldn't speak, of course, but had proved a good listener. "Should I use the last of our coffers buying food, or grain to plant in the fields?" To her surprise, the Earthbreaker turned toward the forest and pointed. Zara had never had the time to learn the Earthbreaker sign before. She had always had people around her who could do that, but now she had nobody else and nothing better to do. With time, patience, and work, she learned what the Earthbreaker was trying to communicate. There were roots in the forest that could be foraged and eaten, if prepared carefully. The roots could feed the people now, and the money could be spent on grain for farming. Varro brokered a deal with the wildkin of the forest, and with their help staved off another disaster. As time went on, she came to rely more on her Earthbreaker friend, who proved quite knowledgeable. She wondered what he had been in his previous life, but he never spoke of his past. In time, Zara found more people to advise her as well. More and more she deferred to their judgment. Surprisingly quickly, the kingdom returned to order, and began to prosper again. 8 years after Liza died, almost to the day, Queen Zara Kazarak received a letter that made her blood run chill. It was written in the hand of Viora, but it came from the new Black Spire bandits. Somehow they had captured Viora. In exchange for Viora's life, the bandits demanded the regalia. They demanded Zara bring it in person on a particular day, or they would sacrifice Viora to the wishing well. The deadline was only 13 days away. Barely enough time to get there at all. Certainly not enough time to rally and march a force. There was no time to lose. She summoned her Earthbreaker companion. Even the Earthbreaker with all its titanic strength could not move the Black Throne of Power from its place. They gathered the rest of the regalia, it would have to be enough, and set off as fast as the Earthbreaker could run, the queen on its shoulders. They arrived only just in time. A group of bandits waited for them, weapons at the ready. Zara got off the Earthbreaker, sore and exhausted from the journey, and approached their leader on foot. You actually came," he laughed. "You are a fool." "I have brought what you asked. Now bring out my sister," the queen demanded. "I think no," the bandit laughed. "I think I'll just take your regalia and sacrifice both of you for more wishes besides." As he spoke, 3 more Earthbreakers stood from the shadows, surrounding them. The bandits had clearly learned from their dead predecessors. Zara was clearly outmatched. The bandit pointed at Zara's Earthbreaker.
"Take the stone giant first."
Queen Zara did not panic. She was battle-hardened enough to keep her head, but she was low on good ideas. Instinctually, she drew the war sword, her old companion in so many battles. With fervor, she begged the sword to work its magic one more time for her. Not for her own sake, but for Viora's. Don't let her die, not like Mother did, alone and fueling the wishes of bandits. Take me instead if you must, please. The sword responded, but not in the old familiar way. It came alive in her hands. Time slowed. She could see the movements and vitals of every bandit at once. The 3 Earthbreakers thundered toward her, yet to her eyes even their incredible speed seemed clumsy and sluggish. Every crack in their armor, every chink in their joints were lit up like beacons to her eyes. As the first Earthbreaker closed in, she attacked it with an ease and speed even she had never known. The sword carved through the impenetrable stone like it was water. Its legs came completely free. The Earthbreaker earned its name as its torso fell to the ground with a thundering impact. The 2 remaining Earthbreakers turned on Zara. She knew, both from her studies and from the sword, that attacking their heads was useless. The only way to kill them was to destroy the soul stone deep within their chests. The first tried to crush her with fists like 2 charging bulls. She jumped straight up, soaring above them as they struck together. Bandits all around fell to the ground, holding their ears as the shockwave hit them. But Zara was unharmed and landed softly on the Earthbreaker's fists. From there she was able to reach its chest. In a single stroke, too fast to see, she stabbed through its thickest breastplate, straight through its soul stone. As it began to fall beneath her, the 3rd and final Earthbreaker charged her. Her own friendly Earthbreaker slammed into it from the side, interrupting its attack. Zara jumped free as the antagonizing Earthbreaker slammed into her dead one with so much force its armor cracked. As she flew, Zara flipped and slowed her fall by cutting the final enemy Earthbreaker in half, from its head to its groin. It fell bloodless in 2 separate pieces, its soulstone cloven in 2. The bandit leader stared at her in disbelief. Then, without her realizing how, Zara found herself wearing the rest of the regalia. The mantle on her shoulders, the ring on her finger, the scepter in her hand, even the throne, 13 days on galloping horseback away, she felt at her back. Like the sword, they were all alive. She felt aware of more, capable of more than she had ever been. With the power of the ring, magnified by the power of the throne, she ordered the bandits with a voice of thunder to stand down. Without exception, they dropped to their knees before her. She had to find Viora. Viora had to be okay. But Zara didn't know how to navigate the maze of tunnels before her. Somehow, her Earthbreaker companion did. Assigned to her, it knew the way, and charged into the darkness. Many bandits lurked in the darkness, but they were of little concern to the giant and the Empress. They either fell to their knees or fell dead as the 2 passed. Together, they ran, unimpeded for a long time, until they reached the bottom of the cavern. It was a gigantic magma chamber. The air was so hot it stung to breathe. A deep pit opened before them, with translucent oil bubbling like lava far below. It was the wishing well. There too they found Viora, bound and gagged, but alive and unhurt. Zara stood back as the Earthbreaker freed Viora. She knew Viora probably still hated her. It was enough that Viora was safe. Zara didn't need or deserve forgiveness. Then to her surprise, Viora stumbled forward and gave her a tight hug. It felt so good. At length they parted. "I'm glad you came," said Viora. "It is good to see you, sister." I thought you hated me," stammered Zara. "I did," she answered. I don't now. I haven't really forgiven you, but I don't hate you. I've had a lot of time to think, and I understand the choice you made before. At the time, I had forgotten what the world was like before we began uniting it. Now I see what you were trying to prevent. Everything is in chaos, Zara. There is war and death everywhere, and I am powerless to fix it. You were right. In a way, nothing is more important than bringing back the Golden Empire. Not even Liza. I think even she would agree. And now you've done it, haven't you? You've awakened the regalia. I can see them glowing on you. I suppose I have, Zara answered. I don't understand why. I've been so wrong. I'm no empress. I'm an Oathbreaker and a murderer. I'm not worthy to wear this regalia, or be in charge of anyone, or even speak our sister's name. Fiora nodded. That actually makes sense. You finally relinquished entitlement. Fully. You understand that you are not worthy to be Empress? And by so doing have become as worthy as you can be. And so the regalia have awakened for you. Zara's expression remained dark. All except the crown, lost because of me. Fiora thought about that for a time. She looked out over the magma pit below, the wishing well to which the bandits were going to sacrifice her. So you just need one more piece, Fiora said, and you'll be the Empress, the real Golden Empress. You'll be able to save millions for generations, just like Mother and Father dreamed. It's worth any sacrifice, isn't it? Even Liza's. Even mine. Zara's expression changed to shock. She suddenly realized what was about to happen. Too late, she grasped toward her sister. She willed the sword to grant her its speed once again, but her intentions had nothing to do with war or bloodshed, and so nothing to do with it. Breaking into a run, Fiora called back to Zara. Goodbye, sister. I forgive you. I believe in you. And with that, she flung herself off the rock into the magma far below. I wish for Zara to have the crown of insight, she cried as she fell out of sight. Zara heard her sister's impact and cry of pain below. Torn with grief and rage at herself, she scrambled to the edge. There she saw her sister, lying bruised but alive and safe, in the clutch of the Earthbreaker. The Earthbreaker was clinging to the rock wall below, having climbed there while the sisters talked as if it knew exactly what was about to happen. Zara stood, stunned, trying to process what was happening. Fiora struggled a little, but was too injured, and far too weak to break from the Earthbreaker's ginger but firm grasp. The Earthbreaker climbed one-handed back atop the cliff, and dropped Fiora on the ground. Then it used its fingers to break off its own rocky head. Cracking the head in half, it revealed, embedded inside the stone, a crown of foresight. The Earthbreaker handed it to Zara. Zara stood aghast. I don't understand. How can you have this? Fiora, lying on the ground and injured, realized at first. It's Liza! She's the Earthbreaker! It's been her the whole time. The Earthbreaker made the sign for yes. Zara fell flat on her butt. Oh my gods. You're alive? You're alive! You're alive, you're alive! Oh, you did outsmart me. Oh, Liza. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I was so wrong. But I don't understand. Why did you stay with me? You could have killed me so many times. I would have deserved it. Why did you help me instead? Liza, the Earthbreaker, started signing. At first, Zara didn't understand. It seemed like Liza was making a promise. Then she realized it was the same promise they had made to their dying father, to stand with each other no matter what. There was no mistaking her. Liza was the Earthbreaker. She alone had kept her oath from all those years ago. Zara stood and hugged the rough stone leg. Oh, Liza, you gave up so much for me. I don't deserve your help or your forgiveness, but I swear I'll spend the rest of my life trying to earn it. I don't know what I can do, but maybe I can figure something out. As she spoke, the scepter flashed. Reverently, Zara put the crown of foresight on her head. Like the other regalia, the crown came alive for Zara. She saw endless possibilities. It was as if the moment before she had been on a path looking at a signpost. Then suddenly she was looking at a map of all the paths and all the signposts of all the world. There were too many to comprehend, and yet she did comprehend them. She began searching through the possibilities, hunting for a way to even partially make up for what she had done. The wishing well beckoned to her, but she could see with the crown that throwing herself in would be a selfish action as well. Death would mean avoiding the hard work ahead, and all the people she could help with the regalia would be deprived of that help. She considered throwing in some of the regalia, perhaps the sword which had always been her favorite. Again she saw with the crown it wasn't really hers to throw away. So many would suffer if she failed to use it well. But she had nothing else valuable enough to do what she wished, to restore her sister to flesh and blood. Then she saw an answer. Marching to the edge of the wishing well, she looked down at the bubbling broil, the very place her mother had died. A hot blast of air hit her face. She pulled out the lock of hair, the very last bit of her mother that the well hadn't yet claimed. "Goodbye," she whispered, and threw it in. "I wish to switch bodies with Liza." The crystal hit the molten surface, melted, and in moments the hair was ash. Zara had expected to wake up in the headless body of the Earthbreaker. That isn't what happened. Both Zara and the Earthbreaker fell to the ground. Zara's body expanded, shredding her clothes and armor. Her mouth fused and her skin turned to stone. Liza, meanwhile, rapidly shrunk. Her skin, head, and gorgeous hair regrew. In a moment, Liza lay on the ground, flesh and blood, beautiful as ever, and untouched by age, just as her sisters remembered her from years ago. And where Zara was, a huge new Earthbreaker lay. The regalia had expanded to accommodate her new massive frame. She stood, holding the now massive sword and scepter, purple mantle billowing in the updraft of the magma. Thus ended the reign of Mad Queen Kazarak. Thus began the reign of the Earthbreaker Empress. Zara had become the leader the Empire needed. With the help of her sisters, it wasn't long before the world that had been in constant war her whole life was united in peace at last. And because she was now immortal, it promised to be a very long and prosperous rule indeed. The end. And that is how the legendary Earthbreaker Empire came to be. I hope you liked that, and if you did, you'll probably like this video about the reign of the very first sun goddess and the myth of how death came to Galatia. Toodles!